this morning we're going to go ahead and make some beer brats. We got some family over for dinner and a picnic, and we're going to make a little variation of that. We're going to use root beer instead, for those of you who don't drink. And in order to change it up, we're going to make it a little bit spicy. We're going to change from the recipe that we normally follow with beer brats, and we're going to put a little bit of our own unique twist into it. So let's go ahead and get the camera over here so you can take a look at what we're going to be looking at today. We'll be using for ingredients. Alright, so today we obviously have our already made brats. These are fresh, butcher made, no preservatives, you don't have to worry about that, nice and clean. For root beer, we're going to be using our Henry Weinhard's root beer. It's going to have a lot of sugar, a lot of salts in it that are going to emulsify. So in order to counter that, I'm going to be using a 1/4 cup of garlic. That's going to take away some of the sweet. And we're also going to use a red onion to keep a little bit of the spicy in there. As well, we have some fresh garlic, take away from the powdered garlic we have. We're using quite a bit of butter for this, so this obviously isn't a healthy recipe. We're going to be using about a 1/2 stick of butter. Counter that in any way we possibly can. We're going to be using a little bit of olive oil to coat that same pan, and some Worcestershire sauce at the end. It's going to make a nice bite combined with the onions and the garlic. And for this pan, we have a cheaper pan, one that you can ruin. This one's been used in the barbecue a lot for some of our sautés, and that way you don't have to worry about making a mess and staining it. It's going to bubble over, and it's going to get thick and caramelized. So this is a pan you don't really have to worry about. Alright, we're going to start that pan out on high. I'm going to top that off. Go ahead and add our olive oil to it. No real measurement here, just use your own thumb. We're just using enough to grease the pan. So you probably here have about maybe 2 tablespoons at the most of olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil, it doesn't really matter at this point, because the majority of what it's going to be simmering in is going to be that 12-16 ounces of root beer and your good 1/2 stick of butter here. Alright, and while we're stirring that up, I'm going to use a slotted spoon because we are going to be using a lot of onions and other things, and we want to make sure that we're able to filter some of the sauces from the vegetables that we're going to be using. It's going to heat up real nice. While it's melting there, I'm going to go ahead and add that 1/4 cup of granulated garlic. And I'm also going to add up the 2 little cloves of garlic that we melted so you get a nice flavor in there. I want to make sure these flavors combine and melt together before I add the root beer to it. Alright, this is a good point. We're going to go ahead and take that onion. We took a whole onion. We've got quite a few brats we were working on. I want to make sure we get that spice in there before we add the sugars. Separate those onions any way we can. And remember, cooking brats is not a quick process. It's gonna take a little while. So give yourself at least a 1/2 hour before you're gonna serve this to really cook them up. Brats are one of those things that you want. They're not like hot dogs. It's gonna take a lot quicker to go through them. They have a lot more flavor to them, but it's a thicker meat. So you are gonna want to give it the time to cook thoroughly. And since we're using a pan, we're gonna do the same. You would on a barbecue, cook one side at a time. And steam a lot of this flavor into it. Alright. We're going to add the root beer. You don't have to add it all at once, it's going to try and boil over. But I'm adding it all at once. Look at that foam. Alright. I know you can't smell that, but that's got a real nice smell to it, and those caramels, those sugars aren't going to make this too sweet either. You're going to get a real good taste from the garlic and the onions once they boil in, and they all add to that flavor. And I'm going to let this cook for a little bit before we add our brats. Now at this point, once you've got the onions down to where they're limp, you can tell a lot's gone out of them. They boil into the pot. That's when you're going to go ahead and add your bratwurst. So we're going to go ahead and add that now at this time. And again, that slotted spoon really helps now because you can move a lot of the vegetables out of the way. Kind of put them on top as you go. Alright. There you go. And I'm going to load them up with that garlic. And that onion's right on top of it. As as they simmer in this. Now I've had it on high since then. I'm going to go ahead and turn it down to medium now that I have it already at a boiling point, because I don't want them to cook too fast. I want to make sure that they're able to simmer and they're able to suck in a lot of that broth that they have in. As well, at this point right now, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of Worcestershire sauce over the top of them. It's going to make that difference in the end. You're going to tell it has a little bit of bite. If the garlic and the onions don't do it enough for you, it is going to add that bite. And again, go ahead and do it. It's going to be as you feel. I don't really have a measuring to this. Again, probably about 2 tablespoons if you want to. I like adding a little bit right before I start turning the heat down. But again, I got them on medium heat right now. I'm just going to leave them open like this and watch them. And we'll go ahead and flip them over. They're ready. I'll let you know when that is. At this point, they're right about to turn over. I'll show you what they look like. Take those over. We're going to flip them. It's going to be browned on the other side. There we go. You see that line right down the middle if you can, where you can still see through that skin. We're going to flip that over there. And you're going to do this a few times because you want it to cook evenly. You want to make sure that you get this through to the middle, because there's nothing worse than biting into a bratwurst and realizing that you didn't get the middle of it cooked. So again, you see that line coming through. We're going to roll that over. Alright, and from here we're going to go ahead and use that slotted spoon again. Put those onions right back on top. Let them simmer a little bit more. Some of that garlic coming up there too. Alright, and again, we play that waiting game with them, and you know. Alright, now right when you get to about this point, you notice our onions are starting to go brown. They're a lot looser than they used to be. Putting it up, we're seeing that they're starting to see this good. It's getting brown. Looks nice. It looks nice. Now, it might be done, it might not be. I don't trust them just looking like this, since, you know, I like to cut them in half. And just check the middle of it. Make sure we're looking good, because it is a thick meat. And see, we're still a little pink in the middle there. What I'm going to do with these, and you can choose to leave them whole and just, you know, continue to simmer them at low or medium heat until they cook really nice. But I'm going to go ahead and cut mine in half, because I really want them to get cooked in there with those onions. And I can still slice them in half if you want to put them in a bratwurst sandwich, or if but one of the risks to doing this, if it's not all the way cooked, is that this skin right here, if you can tell, this is holding in all the moisture. And so the real way that it's getting all that in there is through condensation, if you will, through osmosis. It's going to be sucking in that in. See, if you did it right, you should be able to poke that right in there, and you see that? Those juices are just going to start leaking right out. I'm not worried about these getting dry because they're not too far from being completely done, so I'm just going to cut mine in half. But if you want to not keep yours whole, then you can just simmer them slowly. It's a tongue twister. You don't have to worry about losing any of that moisture inside. So to counter these being dry, because obviously I'm not barbecuing, I'm just going to let them simmer in these sauces, and I'm going to try to trap a lot of that escaping moisture right here. So it's it's broiling in contained units, getting a little bit more of that, and I'm just going to sit back and let them finish from here. Alright, at this point they're good. We've got them cooked on both sides, we've got them cooked through the center. Again, I like mine in half. You guys don't have to do them that way. And again, this is ugly. I mean, it's not the prettiest looking meal, but it is good. In the background there, you can hear my family are getting a little urgent for the meal. We have those onions that have caramelized real nicely, and in fact, I don't want to waste the broth that they're in, so I'm actually just going to pour it right over top of them. Just let them sit. You know? And again, another good reason why we have these pans a little thinner, you know, a little cheaper material, is so we don't have to worry about it when it's too hard. You don't want to ruin your good pans when some of that root beer starts to caramelize on the bottom. But there we are. That's good. We're going to come with that onions. You know, I'm going to put a little bit of fresh Worcestershire sauce over the top of them. And there you go. You can have them with whatever you'd like. You know, if you're from Utah, you want them with ketchup, that's fine. If you want them with spicy mustard, the way you should. But there we go. We're going to go ahead and bring that out to the table there, and that's a root beer bratwurst. Hope you guys enjoy it.
Interesting. Yeah.
Oh, it worked.